Hello, friends, and happy Thursday. Welcome back to Tachy Talks. I hope you've been able to take a minute out of your constant panicking now that OMSAS is open to come check this out. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is OMSAS. So we're going to talk about, basically we're going to go through the entire application. You can sit in front of your application and do it with us. That will be fun. But yeah, just hold back the tears, get a drink of water, hydrate, and I'll pass it off to Kylie.
You don't need tears right now. This is the first day of the rest of your life. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh. Inspiration.
I mean, I'm not actually kidding because it is the first step to your medicine journey. With that being said,
that's true.
Well, just saying what Hailey was saying, you could like put this in your headphones and as you're like looking at your OMSAS application, you could like listen to our voices in your ears. Anyways, before we get started, literally the same as every other week, but we want to remind you that we are not associated with any medical institution in Canada or the world for that matter. We have no affiliation to OMSAS. So all the information we give you today on OMSAS is basically stuff that we think worked for us, stuff we didn't think worked for us, what we've heard from our friends and what other people have said. We have not heard any information from admissions, so this is by no means like official admissions advice. This is just purely our thoughts on the process and what we think would help you and what we think might not help you very much in the application. So please don't come for us.
Please don't.
As per usual. Please don't.
And actually, on a side note, we'll jump into the OMSAS talk real quick, but we are appearing on another podcast this week, the Quarantines podcast. So
we've made it. We're famous.
We're famous. So please check them out. That's going to be coming later this week, and we'll put it in the description if you're watching on YouTube when their podcast releases. And on that, we'll just be talking about the process of making a podcast. So check it out if you get the time. But without further ado,
just as funny over there as we are
just
here.
As
so you're
funny
in for a barrel of laughs.
Hey, if you really just want to keep listening to our voices over and over, you should go check that out.
Just can't get enough.
I should just make like audio samples for people. They pay me, and I'll just record for them.
Whatever
they want to hear.
People. We'll be like those radio
Cameo.
people.
The cameo people, yeah.
Can't think of what to make for dinner? Maple leaf prime chicken.
Appear on all the ads.
Like those people.
Like those people. I just want to be an NBA announcer. That's like that's all I want to do. If I can't be an NBA player, then okay. Let's just start OMSAS.
Anyways.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay.
Okay. OMSAS. What is OMSAS? It is the application for all the Ontario medical schools, and strictly it is just for the Ontario medical schools. If you want to apply to BC or something else, it's a completely different process. But
which we will be talking about.
Which we'll be talking about later, yes, in future podcasts. But
we just figured we'd tackle OMSAS.
You can apply to Schulich School of Medicine, which is Western. U of T. You can apply to Ottawa. You can apply to MAC, Queens, and NOSM. So you have 6 schools, which is a lot. So you want to make sure that your OMSAS application is as good as it can be. And just a little stat that we got off of their page, which I just want to share real quick, was that for 2020, they had 7,102 individuals applying. So 7,102 unique people for a total of 22,547 applications. So some people apply to multiple schools. That's why there's more applications than people applying. But out of all those applications, the target class size for 2021 is only 965. So it is a super competitive process, but still like 965 people get in every year, and there's a good chance you could be one of them. But if you're following along, we're just going to go through the side tabs, the links on the OMSAS page after you create an account. And the first page is the welcome page. I think this is like one of the most important pages because everyone just wants to start their application. You want to start clicking all the links and filling in all your information, but you really just have to chill out for a sec and read the information that's provided on the welcome page, because this has all the prereqs that certain universities require. It has, if you have any questions about how the references work or like sketch and verifiers, things like that. All that information is on the welcome page. There's a bunch of links where you can find any information you want. So please, before you start, just take a look at the welcome page, go through it, look through anything that you think might be important. But that's it for the beginning.
I mean, that's a pretty good skill for anything in life. Like, reading the instructions first will save you a lot of pain and answer a lot of those questions you have. So I know I'm guilty of that sometimes. I just want to, like, dive in, read it
Have
all.
you guys
I'm so
ever
bad
done
for
like
that.
that test where the first question's like, oh, please read, or like fill in your
It's like-
name and like put the pen down, but like people don't do that and just go through the entire test like doing this
And like
stupid
they go
questions.
through the entire and then it's like you know who messed up because you get to like question 8 and it's like stand up and quack like a duck,
Yeah.
and then like people in
Yeah.
your class do that, and I was always one of them because
Yeah, so please just read the rules.
Quack, quack.
She doesn't need that test to do it. Just tell her to do it. She'll do it.
yeah, I'll do it.
So, after you read those instructions, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to skip over to the Program Choices tab. And it's not the next one in order, but we recommend going to that one because if you select certain programs, new tabs will appear. So, for example, if you're applying to an MD-PhD program, which MD-PhDs, they have those at Western, U of T, Queens. I think they have them at every school, right?
If you're applying to MD PhD, first off, congratulations on your life. We're all very proud of you. But yes, make sure you go and select that because there are different things that you need to submit. None of us know much about that because we are not those people. But if you are those people, I believe in you and you're going to do great.
You got this.
You got this. You know what? All of you got this. But with that, select the programs that you're going to apply to. And so, like, just to give an example for me, I applied to Western, Queens, McMaster, Toronto, and Ottawa. What about you guys?
Yeah, I applied all the schools except for NOSM. I'm sorry, NOSM, but Western,
I didn't
Queens,
apply to you either, Awesome.
Ottawa, Toronto,
because-
McMaster.
Because I know that I live too far south for you to love me. So I just didn't waste my time.
Yeah, I've lived in Windsor my whole life pretty much, which is like the opposite of what NOSM wants.
Awesome likes people from Northern Ontario communities because they like to put positions back out into Northern Ontario communities. That's not saying that you shouldn't apply if you're not from a Northern Ontario community. Like, go for it. We just didn't.
Yeah, and even if you're like kind of sketched out or you still want to apply, like we're not telling you not to apply, right? If you're confused about whether you are Northern Ontario, like just go for it, or you can try to reach out to them to get any of your questions answered. But yeah.
But if you're
And
like
honestly-
balling on a budget or you are just trying to like limit your scope or whatever, yeah, your geography is definitely something to consider there.
Also, with that, like, NOSM's a great school, too. Like, every med school in Canada is a great school. For
That's
me,
the
the reason I
thing.
didn't, yeah, like, they're all good. The reason I didn't apply to NOSM was the exact same thing. Like, I'm from the GTA. I'm sorry, the GTA is more opposite to NOSM than Windsor is. So, it was, for me, I didn't want to pay the extra fee because every single school you have to pay a different application fee. And I knew it was kind of like a reach. It wasn't really realistic for me, although like it's a great school and you get a lot of really hands-on experience. So it's really up to you. You have to decide your likes, your preferences, where you want to go to school, and all that will weigh into your application.
Yeah. So once you have chosen your programs that you're applying to and all of your tabs have popped up, the next thing you're gonna want to go check out is the document tracking. So in the document tracking tab, you can see if your MCAT scores have gotten to OMSAS yet. So after you write the MCAT and get your scores, you'll choose on your AAMC portal to submit that to OMSAS. And then you can go over to OMSAS and make sure that they've received it. And then also you can track your confidential assessment forms here. That's the new reference letter. We'll talk about that in a hot second. You can check to make sure that your referees have gotten those in. And you can also check to make sure your transcript has gotten to OMSAS. So this is just where you keep track to make sure that all of your papers have gotten where they need to go. And then similarly, next is the Secure Applicant Messaging, or SAM. And that is where you submit additional forms. So I'm not sure if there are additional forms. I'm assuming there's additional forms needed for MD-PhD. I'm not entirely sure.
yes.
MD-PhD, yeah. And then if you're like different pathways. So like I was a swillman. And I don't think I had to submit. We brought our high school transcripts to the interview, right?
Yeah.
We didn't.
That's all we had to do.
But some other pathways, like, and we'll talk about the pathways again later as well. But like for the access pathway through Schulich, you might have to provide supporting documents to show that why you're using that pathway, and that's where that would go, is to SAM. You should click on that tab and just see if any of the pathways apply to you, because if they do, that's like great. So definitely just check it out. It takes like 2 seconds.
Yeah, the Swimmin' Advantage.
That's it for like document. The Swimmin' Advantage is real. That is why I'm sitting here, people. For people who don't know what the Swimmin' Advantage is, basically, if you're from Southwestern Ontario, and you can go onto the Schulich website to see what counties count, you get lower MCAT cutoffs and lower. Is a lower GP? It's just the MCAT.
It's just the
I don't
MCAT,
even know.
yeah.
You get lower MCAT cutoffs. And so that's definitely something to consider. Is there any post-interview advantage?
I don't know about that.
I think it's
I really
mysterious.
I don't think anyone knows. I think that's one of the secrets.
That's kind of like hidden.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like to keep. But yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, I remember looking up, there was like a booklet of stats, and somewhere on the internet, I don't know where I found it, but in 2017, 2016, 60% of SWOMEN applicants who got an interview were accepted. So, like, there has to be something there.
Yeah, there could be something. But, like, at the same time, I don't want to, like, confirm anything because we really don't know. We're just kind of...
We have no idea.
We're just making conspiracy theories.
We are literally just conspiracy theorizing right now. And also, the application has changed so much in the past couple of years. Like, that was a few years ago when the cutoffs were still higher and they didn't have the extended ABS. So
yeah, a few years ago for Western, no extra essays. So you know how mad for our year when they started the essay, everyone was like, what? I thought Western would be like the easiest application. You do nothing, just like submit your MCAT scores and that's it. But nope, you gotta write essays now.
Western's trying to get rid of their reputation as the party med school. But
what? No, they were never the party med school. What? Never.
Western med students partiers?
No, never.
Way. No way.
No. That's not
academic.
a thing.
I think based on OMSW, I don't think there is any one medical school that is not a party school. I think medical students like to relieve their stress in many ways. All of them different.
You gotta de-stress. You gotta de-stress sometimes.
I think, like, if you look at, like, stereotypes of each med school, like, what else would be our stereotype? I always wonder about that.
We
Westerns?
like to wear purple.
Yeah.
We like to wear school colors, yep.
Weirdos.
Why do you represent your school like that? That's just disgusting. Ew.
Gross.
Freaks.
No, seriously, because I can think of a stereotype for every other school.
Yeah, I don't know. We should say those stereotypes.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe keep those in your head.
No, I am keeping them in my head. I'm just saying I can think of one. So what is ours?
Because like when you said that, I started thinking of them too. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to say these things.
No, I'm not gonna bash anybody. Every med school is great.
No, bash absolutely not. I was saying good stereotypes.
None of them are stereotypes that I think like goes against their academic education. No, let's just stop that there. Let's just go talk about something else.
Okay, we're talking about
listen. If you know what the Western med student stereotype is, please DM it to the Tachy Talks Instagram because I want to know. I feel like I have an insider's perspective, so if you know it, DM it to me, please.
Do that.
Yeah. I'm also kind of curious. I don't know. I never like went into med school being like, oh, like this school's known for partying. Like I thought everyone in med school just studied. So
I learned what the like stereotypes are this year. That's why it's probably skewed because I've been learning from all of them like from a Western perspective. That's why I don't know my own, right?
It's because like you see students at large events, like when they had OMSW, which is like the, what does that stand for? Ontario Med School Student Weekend?
Ontario Medical Student Weekend.
Yeah. So like that's where a lot of the Ontario students from, like, Ontario Med School students just get together, and then you see some presentations and some cool things and stuff like that. So I think that's where a lot of the stereotypes are born, because you see med students going to other schools, and then you kind of like associate them with the... Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay.
Did you go to OMSW?
Huh? I did.
None of it is bad. None of these stereotypes are bad. That's the thing.
No, none of them. They're not bad. They're not bad. It's just that you'll associate a lot of people with similar types of people going to a certain school.
Yeah.
Like you'll see someone walking, you'll be like, yeah, that guy's probably U of T.
Yeah. That's what
it's like that.
So how do people know we're from Western? That's what I want to know. That's what I want you to DM to me, please.
I don't know. I feel like okay, you know how you guys are saying that you heard about the stereotype when you got into med school? I didn't hear about this stereotype until that Pre-Med 101 post. Like, I was never like, oh yeah, party school. Like, I was like, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna study. Maybe I'll have some fun with my friends here and there. Like, but I don't think anyone is like, I don't know. I feel like most med students are pretty like, they know how to balance.
I don't know. Pre-med thinks about this thing, because like all pre-meds want, I'm sorry for like generalizing, but all you guys want is just to get in. You don't care about like...
That's what we wanted too.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to. I didn't care like where I got in. Like,
I mean, at the end of the day, we were all at one point the pre-med stereotype. So at our core, we're all very much the same kind of person. We just like to make distinctions once we're here to make ourselves feel special.
Just let us do this, and then you guys could do it once you get in.
Yeah.
You can take over for us one day.
Take over for us one day. Pass on our legacy.
Anyways, back to what we're here for. OMSAS.
Back to what we're here for. The next thing is... What is it? I think it's other information. So we're gonna skip personal info and like contact info, because like there's not much we can say there. You just fill it up as you want. Yeah. So other information. You have to fill out your personal info first before you can do this one, and then if there was ever something that happened, the stuff's not gonna apply to everyone for other information. Like, just read through the questions and see if anything applies to you. I don't think anything applied to me when I went through it. But just answer the questions. They're really basic. Nothing. They're not trying to trick you or anything. They're just trying to get information, right? So that's not too bad either. And then you have additional university details. So this is if you've ever applied before and you're reapplying, this is where you kind of put in what year you last applied. And once again, they're not trying to trick you or anything. They're just trying to get information. I'm sure it has a lot to do with statistics and stuff like that.
Oh, that's entirely what it's for.
Yeah, so just fill it out. No, it's nothing crazy at all.
You have to keep in mind that they had 7,000 and something different individual applications. Individuals applying. If you think that they have time to sit down and go through all of your personal information for any reason other than statistics, they don't have time for that.
Yeah, you'll see like when you come to med school, or just in general, like a lot of these medical profiles, I don't know what word to use, but like they love statistics. Even like CARMs, they'll be posting graphs like all the time, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like everyone
they get so excited about it. Do you remember our orientation week? They were like, here's the statistical breakdown of your class. Here's the average age. Here's the geography. Here's like, and just like, they were so excited to tell us about the stats.
And even like,
I was sitting there and I was like, cool.
It's because they're all researchers. Like, Hailey and I have been learning stats this week. Oh my, like our supervisor has been teaching us how to use like SPSS and like what all these terms mean. Like, if I knew that information, I would want, I will know that information one day, just not at the moment. But I would want to flex that on everyone. I would want to be like, here's our alpha, here's our beta. Those are the two.
Yeah, straight up, like,
I don't know how to add, so
these academic reports for some schools, like these dean's dean's report, academic reports, whatever they call them, is straight up like 40-50 pages sometimes of just straight stats of applicants. And
that's like the CARMS booklet.
Yeah, CARMS has some crazy graphs.
Yeah. So anyways, all this to say, like, don't stress over those small detail things. They're just collecting them to gain knowledge about who's applying. They're not looking and saying like, oh, this person applied to this school before, that's 1 point off. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's not a trick. It's not a trap.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So the next section is your academic background. This section I remember. Okay, so because I have a 1 year older than Advait and Hailey, I am infinitely wiser. No, I'm just kidding. They're wiser than me. No, but I applied to med school twice. And I remember the first time I opened the application, I was like, why do they want to know where I went to high school? And I was very confused about that. It was fine. I still talked to some like high school teachers, but I was like, okay. But they will ask you where you went to high school, so be prepared to put that down. And then all the post-secondary institutions you attended. So if you transferred universities, you'll have to put down both. For most people, this is pretty simple, I would think. I put down I went to Guelph. Hailey put you into Trent. Advait put you into, or he went to Windsor, sorry. But it's super general, and then you put your degree in. Honestly, don't overthink this. I was also overthinking it because I was like, how do I put like a biomedical degree in? And like, I was like, oh, do I put medical sciences or do I put biology? It's not that deep. Just make your best guess. They're not good. I obviously can't speak on behalf of any program, but I don't think they're going to reject you because of that. Oh, yeah, and you have to put the date you graduated. Sorry. That's it. Oh, yeah. And then, most importantly, is your transcript, which is what all the schools are going to look at. No matter what school you go to, they're all going to look at your transcript. So if you have attended any university in Ontario or college, you have to ask for the transcript through OMSAS. Honestly, this is so easy. It makes life so simple. I had like friends, when you're applying to medical schools out of province, you have to like send your transcript to them yourself. And the stress that I saw some of my friends go through, OMSAS is great. If you go to an Ontario university, you literally put your school in, you pay an extra $12, or I paid $12 from Guelph, and everything's done for you. You don't have to stress about the deadline, so that's so nice. And then you pay for it as part of the submit process. Again, Guelph is $12. I'm pretty sure it's the same for all schools. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I think mine
was 14.
Oh. Well, maybe you shouldn't go to Trent. No, I'm just kidding.
Trent needs that extra cash. They need it.
Maybe mine was 14. I don't remember now.
They don't have very many students requesting transcripts for medical school applications, so they need every dollar they can get out of those of us who are. So next up is referees, and this should be a little bit of an interesting one. So basically what's quite interesting is that there's no longer reference letters. So they use a confidential assessment form, and it just like asks a couple of questions. But that's actually really nice because some profs or whoever, like, they hate the idea of writing reference letters just because it's a lot of work. So if you tell them that like it's a confidential assessment form and kind of explain it to them, that can actually help you like get people to say yes to doing it. But basically you need 3 people as your referees. You can only have 3, and you have to have 3. So one of them should be academic or employment related, 1 non-academic, and then a 3rd of your choosing. A lot of people will talk about like how there's a strategy to this, but honestly, they're looking for red flags. They want to see what people think about you. They're not looking into the credentials really of who is writing those letters for you, as long as they count as for each section. But they're not like, I've seen people debate whether it's better to have like a PhD or like an MD write them a reference letter, and like they're not looking at the letters after people's names. They're not going to be like, this one had a doctor, so we're going to give them extra points. It's not how it works. So
I have a good story about that.
What is it?
I have a really good story about that. Okay, so when I was applying to school the second time, I worked with a postdoc on my like undergraduate thesis, and he was like, I understand like if you want to get like someone like an actual PhD, not like an actual PhD, he has this PhD, but like someone who's like a hired faculty professor. And I was like, no, like I think I like made the decision that I would rather use someone who like knew me really, really well, which was him, as opposed to like using someone who like was hired as faculty at the university. Anyways, it all worked out. So like don't stress about that stuff. Like if they can talk about your academic abilities and like they're in a position where they were guiding you, I would think that's fine. It worked out for me. So don't stress about it too much.
Yeah, exactly. So the most important thing is just that you're choosing people who like know you and can speak genuinely about like your skills and capabilities. Like I had 2 rowing coaches and my thesis advisor as my 3 references, and everything worked out fine for me. So don't stress about like the status of whoever's writing the letters for you.
Yeah, and like I guess since we're all sharing a little bit about our own references, I'll share mine. So mine's was my research supervisor, who was a prof at the university. I had another prof at the university, but he was in charge of a club that I was part of, so he had nothing to do with research or employment at all. And then I got another reference from an individual who was working at the university, but they weren't a professor, but they knew me from just doing my extracurriculars there in clubs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's as long as you get their requirements of like one personal, one academic, and like the other one doesn't really matter, like you'll be fine.
Yeah. And so like I mentioned before, it is a confidential assessment form, and you actually can find the questions that they will ask your referee on OMSAS. So that's nice if you want to give them a little heads up. But make sure that you're approaching these people well in advance of the due date. So referee letters, when are they due? Are they due on October 1st with the rest of the application?
Yeah, they have to be submitted. Yeah.
So make sure like profs or your manager, whoever, they're busy people, right? So you don't want to be approaching them a week before. It should be like probably the beginning of September is a good time to approach them, and then remind them about it a couple
Honestly,
weeks later.
like if you know who you want to choose, you can kind of talk to them now. You're like, hey, just wanted to let you know that I'm applying to med school this upcoming cycle, and I was wondering if you'd be okay with me using you as a reference. And then you could just so that they have a heads up and they know that you're going to ask them to be a reference, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so you'll put their contact information in, and it asks for an address. I saw somebody on Reddit ask about this. It asks for an address. You use your reference's work address. You don't have to use their personal home address. Like I put my university's address for my prof. And then they'll get an email, and you can actually track the status of that email. So if you go to your tracking page or reference status page, you can see that the email was sent to your selected referee. You can see that they viewed the confidential assessment form. You can see that they started it but didn't finish it, and then you can see when they have submitted it and it has been received. So you can kind of track it, and if you're getting a little bit worried because it's been in progress and the due date is coming up, you can send them an email and say like, hey, just wanted to remind you that this is the due date. And that's not a bad idea. Like these people get very busy, so it's not rude of you to, as long as you're doing it in a polite and appropriate manner, to remind them that the due date is coming up.
Yeah, I would say sending it out the earlier the better. And if they finish it early, like that's fine. Like it goes into your OMSAS application and it stays there and nothing happens to it. And so you don't have to worry about it. It's one less thing to worry about. Take advantage of those agendas and those calendars. Like make sure you have all those due dates in, because right now we're just talking about Ontario, but like UBC has different due dates. DAL has different due dates. Manitoba has different due dates. So just keep track of all of them, because it is kind of hard, and it's good to be on top of it.
Yeah, I remember my one of my references almost forgot to fill out their thing just because they were busy, and I had to remind them. I think 1.5 weeks before OMSAS was due, like, hey, I was like, remember I told you I was applying to med school, and I was wondering if you still got that email or not. And then they're like, oh yeah, like I completely forgot. I saw the email. And then like profs get so much email, so as soon as like they forget about one, it's gone to like 5 pages later because they're getting so much emails. So it's also your responsibility to make sure that they know that they have to fill out their form. But yeah,
That, I think, is it for referees.
all right, so the next thing in the application is the ABS, or the sketch.
The spiciest part of the application.
I wouldn't call it the spiciest, but one of the spiciest.
I would say it's like the if we're talking about a burger, this is like the meat or the Beyond Meat patty of the application.
I appreciate the Beyond Meat for the vegans.
Inclusivity.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Advait. Advait's a vegetarian,
you.
and we had to include him.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Actually, that got me. I'm gonna cry. But the
Got him
sketch and
all up in his
verifiers.
feels.
I'm up all.
Don't cry
all my
about that.
feels.
Don't
No,
cry about.
you're
me
just
being
making
a
me
decent
hungry. I
human
want
being.
some. I want a Beyond Meat burger now.
Oh, Beyond Meat burgers are actually really good. I'm not a vegetarian.
They,
Don't cry
well, I don't know what
because
an
it's
actual
over.
burger tastes like, but
Smile because it happened.
you're right.
Small detail. Okay, wait. Before we continue, Advait, like, do you think you'll ever try meat in your life, or do you think like?
He was tricked into it once.
Oh yeah, no, I know the story. Wasn't it? Yeah, I heard the story. Well, yeah.
Greg.
Yeah, we're not talking
Greg,
about this.
Greg, if
This
you're
is-
listening, we know
Screw
what
you,
you
man.
did.
Screw him. Yeah.
Anyways.
no, screw Greg.
Back to the ABS.
Back to the ABS. This is where you can flex all the stuff you've done since you were 16 that has nothing to do with academics. So, if you played piano, this is where you put it in. If you played sports, like rowing, this is where you put it in.
I did that.
If you worked in a clothing store, this is where you put it in.
I did that.
If you were a tour guide. This is
If
where
you're a
put
tour
it in.
guide, this is where you put
She
it in.
did that.
That's me.
What did I do? I don't know. If you did research, this is where you
What
put it
did I
in. But yeah, there's different categories. So we have employment, which is pretty basic, volunteering, extracurriculars, awards, research, and then there's an other category, which I've never used the other category when filling in stuff. Maybe you can find a use for that.
I
But
used the other category.
for what?
I did too.
I did I had done some like charity events throughout the time. Like I just participated. Like for example, like there's a Sick Kids Walk in September, and I used to go to that, so I just put I attended it. Why not?
I put like that I enjoyed traveling and like playing video games.
Yeah.
In
I mean,
other-
why not?
Like I heard that it's like a thing that you should do.
I
I
didn't
don't know.
put
That could
enjoy
also
video
be
games. I
like
should
another
have.
rumor, but it like shows them that you're an actual person who does like real life person things. I know it's big when you're applying to residency actually, that people will put interesting things on their applications, and that's what they end up talking about.
Wait, so the fact that I
in their
play League,
interviews.
the fact that I play League will get me a better match for residency.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was reading on Med Twitter about like all these people who said they had done it, and somebody said that she put dog mom, and they ended up talking about her dog the entire time.
All right, I'm gonna do that next time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put in, like-
that's there's no harm. Like you might as well whatever you
Yeah.
enjoy doing. If it doesn't fit into the other things, like throw it down.
Yeah, why
there.
not?
But sometimes people get a little tripped up about where things belong. I think.
Yeah, I think a big question that some people have is, like a lot of issue comes from, is this extracurricular or is this volunteering? Right? Do you guys want to chime in on that?
I think that if you like did work for an organization or for a group, like that's volunteering. But if you were like part of a school club or you did work for a school club or something like that, that's more extracurricular. Like I feel like extracurricular is activities that you do in school outside of the curriculum. Thus, extracurricular.
Yeah, so like
I
even
agree.
I would say, like give an example.
you.
There's a lot of student-run clubs, like that like raise money for charity, right? And then I would say if you had a position on that kind of club, it's an extracurricular. It's not actually volunteering. But if you work directly with that organization, not like with your student club for the organization, but directly with that organization at their facility or whatever, like Canadian Blood Services, if you help them at their clinics themselves, then I would count that as volunteering, not extracurricular, if that makes sense.
I have two more category questions that I want to answer. I want us to answer. The first is, so something like paid research, would that go under research or would that go under employment because you're getting paid for it?
I would put it under research, and then like you have a description. If you want to add that you're getting paid, sure, add it in the description like paid research. But I would definitely put that under research rather than employment.
Research
I
is
was
valuable
told-
and it makes you stand out. So
I was told too that if you're getting paid for your research, like you should definitely like distinguish that you're being paid for it, because I think they told me that like, okay, all research is good research, so it doesn't matter if you're getting paid or you're not getting paid, but like they were like definitely say if you're getting paid, like that looks good.
yeah, that's
Help me
nice
pay
for
for
you,
my
Advait.
undergrad. helped me pay for my undergrad tuition. Thank you. You
And then
Winter.
the second question that I've seen that I want us to answer is, if you've held multiple positions over the years on one club or group or whatever, would you list it as separate entries or the same entries? So, for example, on the rowing team, 1 year I was vice president and 1 year I was president. Do those go on the same, or do they go on different entries?
I put them all in different entries and different entries. Sorry for mine.
So enunciated. Different entries.
But like, so for example, like I was part of the Biological Science Student Association at Guelph, and I like started as a first year rep, then I moved to like social coordinator, and then I was president for my last 2 years. And like, you have different responsibilities for every position, and like it shows your progression. And another thing that I've heard through the grapevine, again, this was not through admissions, this was just through people I know, so I don't know how reliable it is, but it's always good to see that like you stick with something. So like you put your effort into it and like you help it grow. And you know, that kind of brings up another point on here, is that like it's all about quality. It's not about quantity.
I've heard that so much, is that they want to see that you can commit long term to something, because news for you, medicine is a pretty long term commitment. Mm-hmm. So you have to be willing to stick with that and put your time and energy into it. So yes, I mean, like you said, there's no official word on it, but I have heard that those longer term commitments are quite valuable on your application.
Yeah, like just giving an example. Once again, this is not like from OMSAS or anything, but just like people talking to each other when I was applying. But a lot of people say that if you volunteer at the hospital for 10 weeks, 4 hours a week, so 40 hours total, for 10 weeks, it looks much better than volunteering for 1 week for 40 hours, because it has that long-term commitment, right? So that's what they're trying to see. They're trying to see if you have that commitment. And once again, like Kylie was saying, they're looking for progression as well. Working your way up, just showing that you're taking a larger responsibility as you get more involved with the organization and as like the years go on.
And that's not to say that you have to end up being president of every club that you're on. Like, by no means. Mm-mm. You take roles like that you're interested in and that you can balance with the rest of your life. Just because you don't end up at like the highest, so to speak, position doesn't mean you're not in a very valuable position.
Yeah. So, and that pretty much means like you're going to see 32 slots on that ABS. If you can't fill up those 32 slots, don't worry. Don't like start putting random things in that you did for like 1 hour every week. You know, that won't look as good as you spend it like talking about those things that like you put your time into. Of course, like if you spend an hour every week playing like soccer intramurals, like I still think that's valuable to add. I put soccer intramurals on my ABS, but you don't go making stuff up. Definitely do not make stuff up. Don't forge your application. That is bad.
Yeah.
But like don't try to like just do a bunch of random stuff this year to like try to like boost your application. If you're interested in it, sure. But don't do it just because you're like, oh, this will look good on OMSAS, my med school application.
Yeah, I think we have somebody.
I didn't even come close to filling all of mine.
Neither did I.
Yeah, 32 is a lot. It really is
so
a
many.
lot.
Okay,
and if you think about it, I was thinking. Oh.
Sorry, I just want to say my first year, it was like over 40. It was like, I think it was like 47 or something. I don't know. That was crazy.
I was thinking like, man, everything since you were 16, like that's so much of your life, like that's so many things. And then I remembered that like, I mean, it's not at all that much of your life. And what have you done since you were 16? Like, I don't know if I can name 32 things I've done since I was 16 now, and I have extra years now.
Well, I think I could have like fit in, if I put in like a different game I played, I could probably fit in like 32 different video games. But that's about it, maybe.
I'm glad to see we do so much with our free time. Advait plays video games. I watch Netflix.
Yeah,
Hailey.
just put 32 different like TV shows you watched.
Outlander. Every season.
Hailey swipes through Hinge.
You're so funny. Oh goodness.
And the other thing is, for each of your activities, you need to have a verifier.
Oh, this verifiers were the hard part for me, because
it's
this
hard.
It's so hard. You have to go back to when you were 16 and find people to verify those activities. Like, when I applied to med school, I was 23. That's like, quick math, 7 years ago that I had to go back. And like I like kept in contact with my high school guidance counselor and teachers, so that was good. But like one person I straight up emailed and they were like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, one of my old employers, I had to go back and ask her for a reference, and I came in, she's like, "Oh, I don't think you worked for us." And then I was like, "No, I did. Like, trust me." I'm like, "I should be in your file somewhere." And then she started asking me questions like, "Oh, what did we used to do on like Fridays?" It was at a retirement home, and then she's asking me questions about like what kind of animals they kept there, and I was answering them all. She's like, "Okay, maybe you did work here, but I don't really remember you."
That's
like, oh,
that's
no.
very interesting,
So
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so keep in contact with those people.
Yeah.
Just like Happy New Year's.
And definitely ask
and
for
it is
permission,
important.
right?
Oh, 100% ask. And you always think that, like, so they choose whose verifiers to contact at random, I'm pretty sure. Nobody really knows, but I'm pretty sure it's at random that, like, you just get selected as somebody who's going to be, their verifiers are going to be checked, and you always think it's not going to be you, and if you think that way, it's going to be you. And then they're going to call some, like, fake phone number you put up there, or they're going to call somebody that you didn't ask, and that person is going to be like, I don't remember Advait, I have no idea who you're talking about. And that is a red flag. So, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't take the
Yeah,
risk.
don't do that.
Like, don't come this far and put this much effort and everything in it just to take that risk. Don't do that.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no reason, like, yeah.
There's another question that I can see coming up because I had the same question is like when are verifiers contacted, and again, like, no one knows. So I've heard people sometimes they're contacted before the interview, sometimes they'll contact them after the interview. I know that, or I've heard, I don't know because no is a very strong statement, but I've heard from friends who have applied to Alberta that Alberta will contact almost everyone's verifiers. But again, like, things change every year. The schools decide what they want to do. So, you know what? Better safe than sorry. Ask your verifiers. Contact them. Just do it right.
Yeah, and, like, you can use the same verifier for multiple things as well, right? So, if, like, suppose you did rowing, you could probably use that verifier for, hey, I was the president of the rowing club, and use that verifier for, like, oh, I held this charity for the rowing team, right? So,
or like awards or whatever. Yeah,
or
you can
awards,
use people
yeah.
over and over again, as long as
Yeah.
it's applicable.
Verifiers too, they get kind of tricky though, like because sometimes like other students in your classmates will be your verifier, and I always was like, I don't know how to feel about that, because like I'm not saying that anyone would ever do anything, but like I was like, oh, like, will they not listen to them because they're like a fellow classmate of mine? But like I used someone who was like a president for me who went on to do like her master's in another school because there was no real like professor who oversaw our club.
yeah. I had like
That's the
3 or
thing
4
about
classmates
clubs.
as verifiers for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
quite
I
a few.
100% had classmates as well.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, so don't worry about that if you have classmates as your verifiers. I wouldn't use them for references. Do not use them for references.
No,
But
that is also a
verifiers,
red
that's
flag.
Yeah. My friend is so great. She's the best. I love her. Please accept her.
You'll also notice that there are no real clear instructions on how to fill out the ABS. Like, do you use point form? Do you use full sentences? How should you phrase your positions? Like, this, that, or the... And the reason there's no clear instructions is because they want to see what you do with it.
Yeah. I would recommend using point form, though, as long as, like, your English is proper. Like, you don't have to answer in full sentences. Just use point form. Because you really don't have a lot of characters. I think it's like 150 or something, which is not that much. It's like 1 or 2 sentences you can put in.
It's so little.
It's so little. I think
It's
for
an
every entry I
exercise in
put in,
being
I had to like
concise.
delete stuff. Every entry.
Yeah. Even
So,
like
yeah.
the characters, you can use short forms too. I use short forms in mine, like for like common things. I wouldn't go making up your own acronym, but
Yeah.
like for example, without I do like W/O, just stuff like that, because that's a lot of characters you save. It's important.
Yeah, little tricks like that can really help you out.
I'm trying to think if there's any other good tricks I have for that. Hold on, I'm gonna look at my old.
What about the ratio of high school to university activities?
Yeah, so I would recommend putting in as many of the newer stuff as you can, like the university stuff.
Yeah.
or if you're a much older student, like whatever's more recent, right?
What I did was like I filled out everything with my university stuff, and then I went and I like chose the most important high school stuff with the space that I had left over. Because even though I didn't fill out all 32 spots, there were sections where I filled out all of the spots. So like I prioritized getting the university stuff in there, and then I kind of like seasoned it up with a little bit of high school.
Yeah, I think I had maybe like 3 or 4 high school entries.
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Yeah, mine's was like 3 or 4 high school entries in my ABS. And then
I'm
because like there are students that are much older, right? There are people in our like 28
For sure.
years old, 28-year-old applying and stuff like that. So
And you can
you
talk
wanna
about
use-
like your work experience at
Yeah.
that point, and like all of that is super, super valuable stuff.
Absolutely, and you want to use like more recent stuff too, because you don't want to say that you did 20 things in high school and then university you did like 5, right?
Yeah, that kind of looks like you just
Yeah.
dropped off the face of the planet and started becoming like a study all the time person.
You're like thinking of something to say. You're like you become a study and
I wanted to say like a study nerd, but I feel like those are too close. Like I felt like that wasn't a
Wait,
good
what do you have against
option,
nerds?
so-
What's your problem against nerds?
I don't.
huh?
That's what I'm saying. Is like I don't want to be like, oh, you don't want to become a nerd. Like it's a bad thing, because it's not. Being a nerd
It's
is
not.
good. It's
I was
cool.
just looking at my OMSAS application and some other things I apparently did. Instead of writing and, you can use like the and symbol. That saves you 2 characters. I used a lot of like semicolons. Those are good. You know,
Little tips and tricks.
Yeah, little tips and tricks. You know, those characters add up because you can add another like really good adjective in with all those characters you save. And yeah, those are
Throw
like,
in
my
can
favorite.
med words too if you can. Like can
Oh
meds,
my
if you
God.
don't know about it.
Spice
Sprinkle
it.
that
You
in.
have to up with can.
How did we
Yeah.
not talk about that yet? Can meds is the most important thing, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Go if you don't know what can meds is, just Google can meds, and you like just look at their page.
It's basically like characteristics that they think you should be able to embody. So like the C stands for collaborator, right? So you would go in there and you'd be like, I collaborated with the rest of the team to, and like just stuff like that.
So yeah,
Yeah.
make sure like you really want to use those words.
Especially like all the schools are revamping their curriculums right now, and like their curriculums are centered around can meds. Like can meds is like the med school, like the best words you can use. Sorry, I didn't have a good adjective there. But they're so important. I was helping someone with her application this year, and I was like, go to can meds, read them. Go to can meds. That's all. That's my only advice now.
Okay, anybody want to add anything else about the sketch?
Start it early. That's another thing. Don't leave it to the last minute. It takes a lot of time.
It actually does, yeah.
And if you are not applying this cycle, like if maybe you're just in first year, or like, I don't know if we have any high school listeners. If we do, shout out to you. Start, like, keep a running Google Doc of everything that you do, so that you don't have to like sit there and think about it. Like write down every role that you have, thing that you do, even if it doesn't end up making it onto the sketch, at least you have it there, and like write a couple bullet points about what you did. I started doing that for my CV, to add stuff to my CV, and it's been so helpful because you just have a document that's everything you've done, and then you just arrange it accordingly.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good tip, because
That's a
you
good
would
tip
be
for like
life.
For just life. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just about to say
you'd-
that. Good tip for life.
You'd be surprised. We're really gassing her up right now.
I know.
You'd be surprised how much stuff you forget about yourself. Though, like I remember sitting there and being like, "There's definitely other things I did, but I couldn't remember." And another thing was starting early. Oh my God, start emailing your verifiers now, because it takes a lot of time to get it arranged. And I just had mine open. I think I had like 9 or 10. I'm not going back to look. I think I had like 9 or 10 verifiers, and some of them were like, for like orientation week, I had to like contact the orientation coordinator, who was like, I like knew her email through someone else, but like getting their contact information too, like it all takes time. So start that now. That's like my one tip.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next thing will be school submissions.
Yay.
So this is where you will submit required prereqs or essays for certain universities that have those things, and this is also where you can apply to certain streams, so like the access pathway for Schulich. And like we said, we're going to be talking about those streams another time, right?
Yeah, in a different podcast.
So basically, some schools have prerequisites, like U of T, you need to have a full credit in the humanities, social sciences, or languages. And this is where you put that, right? So that's where you put the prereqs that were required and the grade that you got in it. And then essays. So U of T has essays, and Schulich now has essays. Not really essays. This is the extended autobiographical sketch. So they ask you to choose key events from your ABS that fit certain criteria and just expand on it a little bit more, which I thought was great. I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of like give a fuller picture of what I did. And then U of T is 5 essays, and they give you like questions that you have to answer.
Like prompts.
Yeah, and this is also where NOSM, I think you have to put in your connection to Northern Ontario in this section as well. So if you click on the school, they all have their own specific prereqs. Ottawa and Mac will also have like, oh, you have to write Casper, and then you have to put like, I understand. But you sign up for Casper externally. Like you go to Casper's website and do that, not through OMSAS. Casper will send it to OMSAS so once you finish. But yeah.
With that too, like another thing about McMaster is that McMaster only looks at MCAT, and by MCAT I mean CAR score, GPA, and Casper. That's it. They do not look at your ABS. They don't look at extracurriculars. This is all listed on OMSAS's website. So these are all things like to kind of consider when you're applying to schools. You know, it's like it's no lie. It's pretty obvious. Applying to med school, like a huge barrier is the cost, and we understand that it's a lot of money just to apply to med school even. So if you're in a position where you're trying to like decide which schools you should apply to, then that's one thing to consider. Like if you think you have a really strong GPA and a really strong like MCAT, Mac would be a great choice for you. If you think you're more extracurricular heavy, maybe look at Western, especially now that Western's cutoffs are changing a bit. I think they're starting. Again, I don't work with admissions. I know nothing about admissions, but based on the way the cutoffs are lowering and the essays are coming in, I would think they're looking a lot of extracurriculars now. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so as well. They're definitely, and I think they've been pretty open that they're like, the reason they're making the shift is because they are looking for more, they're looking at a more holistic view of each candidate.
Everyone's favorite word, holistic.
Holistic. Yeah, and the MCAT is really expensive. So if you haven't written the MCAT, Ottawa is a good choice for you because they don't require the MCAT at all.
Yeah,
they
NOSM doesn't
require
either.
Casper.
NOSM
doesn't? Really? I didn't know that.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if they changed that or not recently, but yeah, NOSM doesn't require the MCAT.
Yeah, so like if you weren't able to write the MCAT, there are still options for you. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. They're like, oh, I can't apply because I haven't been able to write the MCAT yet, because it's like prep is $1 million and then writing the test is $1 million in American, and then you have to be able to get there and you have to be able to sit the exam. So if you haven't been able to do that stuff yet, you still have options.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Definitely.
that's important. And then, yeah, and the grades that you achieve in your prerequisite courses don't matter. It just needs to be above, like, the cutoff. So
70?
Don't be embarrassed. Yeah,
70
70%.
for Ottawa, yeah.
So don't be, like, embarrassed if you got, like, you didn't enjoy, like, your score. That doesn't matter, because as long as you've met the overall GPA requirements, they're not looking at what you got in specific courses. Again, they don't have enough time to go look at that for every single candidate. So that is not like a maker, like, oh, well, this person got 86 in their humanities course and this person only got 85. So we're going to take the 80, like, they don't do that because they don't have time to do that. So don't worry about that.
Mm-hmm. Especially another really important thing, like now that we're talking about the differences between schools, for your GPA calculation, every school does it differently. Like, so Western takes your top 2 years. But make sure you go look at Western's website, because the years they consider, you have to have a certain number of courses at that level. And I don't want to say it because I feel like I'm going to say it wrong and I don't want to give anyone the wrong information. So go look on their website. I think it's like 3. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look it
You
up.
need 3 out of 5 for the
Yeah.
year that you're in. So if you're in first year, well, first year doesn't matter. It's whatever. Second year, at least 3 out of 5 courses each semester have to be at a second year level. Third year, 3 out of 5 of the courses have to be at a third year level. And at fourth year, it's hard to get 3 fourth year courses. So in fourth year, it has to be at least a third year level. 3 out of 5 of your courses for this semester.
Basically, once you're in the upper years, you need to be taking enough upper year credits.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're in first year right now and you're listening to this, I found upper year courses so much easier than first year
Oh
courses.
my god,
because they were
so
much
much easier.
Really?
So
I found
much
first year
better.
courses like so much easier than upper year courses.
I think
First
no,
year
the
was not a
hardest
good year
year
for
by
me.
far, the difficulty level peaks in second year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree
For
with that.
sure. And then
I
it gets
agree.
way easier because the courses are more specialized. I feel like, I don't know, like it's different at every university, but my experience was the profs are more laid back in third and fourth year.
Yeah.
It's just like more chill.
Yeah.
But actually, like, since we're talking about grades and stuff like that, due to COVID, a lot of schools
yes.
are creating their own little calculation method for how to do this whole grade thing, right? So I think if you like at Western, if you required last year to be one of your top 2 years, they'll look at you passing all your courses. Like you still have to take 3 courses that are your year level and whatever. But for the grades, for the calculation, they're going to exclude the winter 2020 semester. And like any full course or full year courses, if that makes sense. So if you're taking like thesis, that would have been like a full year course, right? They want to look at the mark for that. So I think there's a Reddit post. If you go on Pre-Med Canada Reddit, there is a post that's pinned by HGrad98. Shout out to HGrad98 for making this. And there's a chart for a bunch of Canadian med schools and what they're doing with COVID. And you can see each school is doing something different. Because, like, if we look at McMaster, for example, they're including everything. They're not doing anything to change these grades at all for the students. Queens is excluding winter 2020 marks. U of T is excluding winter 2020 marks. U of Ottawa is including everything currently. So each school is doing something different. I would definitely check out that post. He, she, whoever this person is, has made an excellent post. But yeah. So COVID has
Another
been
thing,
changing things around like always.
Yeah. With COVID, too, I don't think any of the schools have officially come out and said what they're going to do about fall 2020 grades because a lot of the schools are still online right now. And I know, okay, this is all pure speculation that I've been reading around the internet because I'm just curious. Some people are saying, like, oh, like, the schools are better prepared. They'll be able to test people more fairly. Other people are like, no. So keep your eyes on that because I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen yet. I know. I have no guesses.
No, yeah. This is what COVID
I
is.
think
COVID just makes everything like a whole guessing game.
It's fair, like you should go into, if you're going into your third or fourth or second or whatever year right now, go in with the assumption that they're going to use those marks as much as you can because then you're playing it safe either way. And I know that is easy for me to say because I'm not in your position and like there are so many different aspects that come into play when you're studying from home or whatever you're dealing with in your environment, but as much as you can, treat it like those grades are going to be used.
Yeah, for sure. No, we understand. Like right now, like this is hard. It's hard for everyone. So, try as hard as you can to get those good grades, and then, you know, I guess this is also an important thing to say. Like a lot of the applications have like an essay you can write for like extenuating circumstances, and it's hard to know what the school considers. Like they don't really like list like, oh, like if you had these problems in your life, like you write an essay. You know, if you think it applies to you, write an essay. The worst thing they can do is say it doesn't, like say no. So it's worth a shot. And especially like it's hard times for everyone right now. So
But like don't send them anything extra. They're not going to read anything extra you send outside of OMSAS.
yeah, no, there's like a special like there's a special input area. I know on
Like the
Western
academic explanations essay or something like that.
Yes. And I don't know what it looks like right now, but when we applied, Western had, like, at the end of their, like, essay package, they had a place where you could write, like, they were like, tell us anything else you want to tell us. So.
I just put
So
nothing.
that's the other thing to talk about in this section is the essay writing.
Oh, that's bigger than like this whole grade stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's like the biggest part of the whole application.
So start your essays early and get other people to edit them. That, like,
Yes.
I didn't do that, but it is a surefire way for success is if you have multiple people putting their eyes on those essays and tell them, be like brutally honest with me, edit it, like tear this paper apart kind of thing, because you want them to be as top notch as possible.
Yeah, and get them to edit it, not write it for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It needs to be you.
And read the instructions. Like, honestly, the ones for Western, like the essay was like, tell us about this thing on your ABS. What did you learn from this? Why will this make you a good doctor? And literally all I did was say a few sentences on like what it was, a few things on what I learned from it, why it would make me a good doctor, and then I added in some CanMeds words, and I like tried to like connect the two. And obviously, like, you'll never know the score you got in your essay, but like, it worked out for me. I got into school, so
Yeah.
Like, and I was very explicit about it. I was like, I learned this. I learned this. Because you're showing them that you're answering their questions. They're not going to be like, oh, this person didn't word it eloquently enough. Like, just be very, like, obviously write it well, but, like, just answer the questions.
yeah.
Don't
make them
Toronto's
connect the dots.
essays, like Western is very upfront about just like, oh, explain this, explain that, share
Toronto's are
something, a
different.
time where you did this. Yeah, Toronto's is a little bit fancier, where they try to get you to think a bit, and which is fine. That's just the way they do stuff. But with that, I would my little tip would be, their questions are not going to be directed at you. It's going to be a very general question, but try to relate yourself to it if you can somehow. You don't force it. Don't force it relating it to yourself, but just try to see if you can connect it as you being a med student or a physician, and like incorporate that in there if you can, or something that happened in your life, something that, you know, some way to make this essay personal to you rather than just general.
Like, I tried to kind of think of it as, like, explain how your experiences in life are informing your answer. Like,
Yeah,
not
that's a good-
explicitly,
that's
but,
good.
like, somehow tie in how your unique experiences are uniquely informing the answer that you're writing. And I think that's a good way to show, like, personal connection to your answers.
Yeah, I agree. That's good.
But yeah, like, you don't have to write your essays now. You can if you want, but I definitely recommend, if you're applying the cycle, at least open up your application, take a look at the questions, so you can kind of think about it at the back of your head.
Get them brewing in that little brain of yours.
Start brainstorming a bit on what you want to write about, because trust me, this is going to be one of the most important essays you're going to write.
I agree.
Yep. And I think that's it for this section.
Oh, one thing that we kind of like, we only really talked about Western, but another thing, just for like GPA requirements, I'm looking at it right now. It's all listed on OMSAS. But like McMaster, for example, it says right here, you must achieve an overall simple average of at least 3.0 of 4.0 on the OMSAS scale. Don't be fooled.
Yeah.
That is that GPA is just the bare minimum, because when I was applying, I was like, oh yeah, like I got that. No, they look at it very competitively, and you can look up like the stats for the previous years and see like what you would need to be a competitive average. But you know, I don't know if it's really worth it for me to go through all of them. If you like, it's like literally on the OMSAS website. It has every single school, and it tells you every single detail about them.
Yeah, like if you go to the welcome page, remember again, like the first tab on your OMSAS application, there's a bunch of links there for all the requirements for the different schools. So once again, like before you even start your application, I think that's one of the first things you should do. Open up that tab and just keep it there. Bookmark it.
Yeah, and if you're not applying this year, I know a lot of people, Hailey being one of them, really like making like spreadsheets. And so like you can put in all the GPA, the MCAT requirements, and you can just start like thinking about it beforehand. And I think that's really, really valuable, and it allows you to start getting prepared. So even if you're not applying this year, also like you can make an OMSAS account this year if you want to go look around. Just because you make an account doesn't mean you have to apply.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, after you're done your essays, and you can look online, make your spreadsheets for, if you're not, even if you're applying this year, make your spreadsheets. You can see which schools you want to apply to again. Some other really important things is your MCAT. When you go to the MCAT tab, it'll take you to AAMC, and then it connects to OMSAS. It's really simple to follow. And one thing that like kind of confused me is that sometimes like you don't write your MCAT in the summer. They have like a deadline that they need your MCAT scores by. So as long as it's by that date, just choose your MCAT date accordingly.
I think it's November 6th this year.
Yeah. So for example, I wrote mine like September 14th, and they had my scores by the end of October. So like, don't worry about that if you're writing it a little bit later in the year. And then finally, there is an application service fee. So for each school, they have their own application fee. McMaster is $125, Northern's $100, Ottawa $125, Queen's $125. Western is also the same price as the other two, and then Toronto is $130. And then when you check out,
like that, $130 for Toronto.
I don't know why they charge you that extra $5. And then with that, and you have to pay the service fee, which is $220. So
Yeah,
with
it's
that,
not cheap.
yeah, and your transcript will also be included at the end, and then you'll check out, and then don't do that until you're finished your application. And I believe the due date this year is October 1st. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. October
Alrighty,
1st.
and that's that. That's OMSAS.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on our socials.
Keep DMing us. We love chatting with you.
We love chatting with you. Please let us know if you
Yes.
have any stereotypes you want to share with us.
Yes, please.
Or
Keep me
just message us
entertained.
if you want. Like, you can just
If you want
talk.
to chat.
If you want to chat, yeah.
And
Okay.
keep your eyes out, because as per usual, we will be posting questions that we will answer in next week's episode. So keep an eye out for that. And enjoy your first week of, well, when did OMSAS open? Mid last week, right? So I guess it's not their first week of filling it out. Enjoy your first month of filling out the OMSAS application.
Just enjoy your life. Just have a good time.
Enjoy your
Go
summer.
sit on a patio in the
Just
sunshine.
enjoy your summer. Just forget about the application for now. Just enjoy summer.